Well, hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're consuming this broadcast. Welcome to Ionisms, a simple, slow burn, straight talk about movies, pets, cricket, and a little bit of geopolitics. And boy, don't we have a ton of geopolitics going on right now. So, if this is something that floats your boat, stay tuned. We're going to talk about a lot of things. We're going to talk about Operation Sindoor, a little bit about the Russia Ukraine situation, and then conclude with the Israel Iran situation a little bit. Uh, you might think, what is it that you want to know or hear or will learn that you don't know already or haven't seen about it already? But the timing of this is important. What I try to share here is as neutral, as non jingoistic, as non rhetorical as possible. That stems from the fact that I'm not part of any political party or have any associations or affiliations as a personal opinion. And I have no pretenses to being any expert on geopolitical affairs or defense news. It is more to do with what is publicly available as information, and as an ordinary citizen of the country, it impacts me in some way or the other. And so I try and synthesize, process, analyze, and then share the details with you. So without further ado, let's jump right in. So what am I going to talk about? Operation Sindoor. Operation Sindoor, I want to touch upon what did we miss en route from a narrative standpoint. You know the military details, you know the exchange, you know the chronology. But I wanted to deep dive onto those chronologies and see if there was like a scorecard analysis. Where did we gain? Where did we lose? What we could have done better as compared to, say, what Pakistan won or lost in the process. So, right off the bat, there is no two ways that Pakistan got the better of the social media narratives. So, how so is argue that, well, is it more important for you to win the social media narrative or the battle on the field? And to many, it might sound it's a no brainer to win the battle on the field. But in the days and times and the ages that we live in, it's not one in lieu of the other, it's both. And so let me explain how. I think right from the start, the global mainstream media or the consciousness picked up the narrative stemmed, fueled, propagated by Pakistan, saying that India attacked Pakistan. Now, historically, we all know that all preceding wars have been initiated, started by Pakistan, which they were all comfortably numb about it. And this was their chance to say, like, look, see, they did it. They started first, right? So that verbiage got picked up that India attacked. Where we missed out clearly was to amplify the message about Pahalgam terror attack. It started to take some narrative, but things moved so fast that it wasn't magnified enough. And that's why, if you ask, if you look at the spectrum of global media, they picked up the narrative on India attacked Pakistan. We did a recourse, we put a effort post facto that no, it started with Pahalgam, 26 innocent tourists being killed in the name of religion. And that should have been, in for lack of a better expression, blown out of proportions given the social media coverage or narrative. Because what Pakistan did in turn was to blow that information out of proportions where India attacked them, because that news media spread to other news outlets who referenced the other ones, and so on and so forth. And nobody did the backtracking of the origin story, right? And so it kind of got set as a mainstream consciousness that, well, these guys, as in India, started the whole attack on Pakistan air bases. So it kind of set the tone, if you will. And so I think that was a miss on our part, that we ought to have not just given a sophisticated debriefing but also gone out to various news media outlets, channels, and the delegation that went post facto should have gone much earlier, right? When because we live in the age where nothing is by chance. All of this, all the activities that happen by design. And I tweeted somewhere the other day that between optics and posturing lies reality somewhere. And so, given the fact that India had ample time to plan, think, design, act, this should have, ought to have been part of the social media discourse that look how we are suffering. And there's nothing to make up. It truly hit us. It impacted me as an individual that so many innocent civilians got killed. That there was the unwritten code that we'll attack military installation, as in Pakistan would attack military installations, and we would retaliate. Leave the tourists alone. That narrative got broken for the first time ever in some sense. I mean, not in the recent memory. It was breached earlier once. And so it was very important to ensure that this message landed well with the Western media, with all the other uh, social media outlets. Missed that opportunity. Next, I thought where we gained one was with the Operation Sindoor. The title was superb, right? Fabulous choice of very appropriate and made me feel very proud. And the second second masterstroke was to send Colonel Sophia Qureshi and Vyomika Singh on for the debriefings. That was a super masterstroke, massive message statement given to the world. But we also missed a trick there. While the debriefing part was good, they also should have gone to other news media outlets after the debriefing to kind of share the narrative that look, uh, this is what's happening and this is my view and their side of the story, and people would have picked up women leaders story narrative globally quite a lot. I mean, there would always be those who are not pro India, but I'm not talking about those media outlets. Remember, we're creating a narrative, we're creating an optics as well. And the good news is we're creating basis a lot of reality we have, not manufacturing consent or uh, perceived fiction. It's a fact that we have a very strong women workforce, and so it's your strong point, it's your strong suit, and one should have made a lot of noise about it. I thought we missed that part of the trick uh, in the build up to the actual conflict. Next, once the conflict started, already the tone was set that India had attacked, so there had to be a counter narrative immediately flown. What we needed was a optical gratification. Now you could always argue, war or conflicts or skirmishes. These are serious business. This is serious business. People die. People lose their lives. It's not something that you take lightly. That being said, it's the age of information. And for something that you call information, it's propaganda for the other, or misinformation or disinformation for the other. You can't help or you can't change that. So, knowing fully well that whatever we say, do, act, broadcast will be twisted, turned, and positioned in some other way, it was very, very important to take the lead. I think we played catch up on the social media front. On the military, on the tactical warfare front, air superiority or whatever, we missed the narrative. While it was, it needed a more instant information sharing with the world. That look, our jets did this, our jets did that. We took down 9 air bases and maybe even more, and propagated that theory and practical impact to a much larger audience very quickly. Now, I know people would say, I have a battle to fight. I have a war to win. I couldn't be bothered about what the messaging is going on. But as it turns out, post facto, that piece turned out to be super critical, isn't it? And so, lesson learned that the speed of communication has to be in parallel, if not real time, um, with the actual events on the ground, so as to shape the narrative in your favor. And and I'll come to it in a little later in the podcast about why that is important, that the narrative is favorable on your part. So we missed that glorification part of something that you've done something spectacular, like go very deep, and anticipated that in a warlike situation, you knew very well that it wouldn't be Pakistan fighting alone. There would be support from China or Turkey or some of the other. It's known within syllabus. So it was only imperative for us to calculate that what could be the differentiator, unless we say we didn't know what could be the differentiator specifically. Like we knew that they would support, but we didn't know how. Like they would have beyond visual range interceptors or stuff like that. It would be very smart to preempt the collateral damage conversation. Like, yeah, it's a conflict just short of a full scale war, and there will be collateral damage. So if you had two Rafales down, yeah, sure, get the Rafale guy to say that what they said, 15 days later, that the Pakistani claims are inaccurate. They should have said it on the same day. That you might think you shot down 6 jets, but that's inaccurate. During the course of war or conflict, there will always will be collateral damage. But look as against what? Let's not make it a count of jets lost. Look at the damage, quanta damage that we did to your uh, air bases and all those locations. We got onto the picture. Uh, the Pakistani army being complicit with the designated terrorist families. That should have again been magnified much more. It got some degree of coverage, but like with so much happening, it kind of got probably sidelined, if not lost, but sidelined. It wasn't like screaming at your face somewhere. And so that was important for that message to be drilled down, not just in India, but globally as well. I also think the the narrative where Pakistan picked up that they downed the jets caught fire because it was presented as a David versus Goliath story. Oh, look, we are this poor nation. You are a bigger country, bigger um, population, bigger economy, bigger might. But look how we brought you down. That is the underdog story is always going to be more attractive to the lesser informed. And as it turns out, the majority is lesser informed, isn't it? Those who are in the know, they are lesser in number and they won't react or budge. But that narrative building is for the lesser informed. And that's where we missed a trick of not countering that narrative. What compounded the problem is the circus that our media went into, the spin of jingoism and loud rhetorics and everything. And it was cartoonish, it was caricaturish. Now, one can argue, and I've read some reports and heard some information that it was by design. Like it sounds rather silly. That yeah, you want to make a provocative commentary. It did not be cartoonish. Like, "Uda do, maar do." It didn't be like that, right? It can be done little more in a sophisticated way. Look, you have to play to the gallery in some sense, right? For lack of a better expression, you should know for the right audience. India as an audience was already convinced. There was no further convincing that was required that you are doing a good job, as in the army is doing a good job or the air force is doing a good job. It's the narrative globally, where, of course, you've gotten into two nuclear powers have gotten into a conflict, so that would attract global attention. And so it was very important to build that narrative for that global attention. It's like you're not making, and I know it's a crude analogy, but bear with me, it's not with a wrong intention here. I'm just trying to simplify for better consumption. That you're trying, if you're making a movie like a Bollywood movie, it'll be for the Hindi speaking belt in India. What you need to make is a pan India movie, right, which is understood everywhere. And if you zoom out, you need to make a movie which has a global audience or a story that is appreciated globally. Likewise, this narrative that you send out has it's not necessarily for India. It is required for the rest of the audience who are lesser informed about India to shape the narrative favorably and positively. We missed a trick there as well. And clearly, wherever we missed a trick, Pakistan picked up and doubled down. And they made a series of gaffes, whether it was their defense minister, Mr. Khwaja, or their, I don't even know their names. And or even if it was Bilawal Bhutto's drawly, rhetorical, all that, they made a lot of gaffes, including saying, where is the evidence? Or the guy says it's in social media and all those things. That had to be amplified to the world. Like, look at what your senior government official is uttering from his mouth, which is absolutely ludicrous, if not absolutely insane. A person of, I mean, it just goes to show the standard or the lack of it that your country has in terms of articulating what's going on in the heap of BS that they peddle on international media. But that wasn't picked up until much later, right? There was this, I think, Masialda Hakim's interview, and they went on to get her to speak and share. It's okay, but it wasn't, like I said, everything could have been notched up. I read somewhere that for every 1,000 tweets, I think 4,000 were released by Pakistan. They've been practicing this for a very long time. See, that's their whole uh, reason of existence, if you will. um, how to defeat India, how to beat India, or how to be better than India. So they, in their minds, they hyphenate themselves with us, right? The common street narrative is, oh, we started off at the same time. Look where they have gone and look where we are. So they have this cathartic meltdown from time to time saying, look, India's gone so far ahead. And, but, we are equally talented. हमें जज्बा है, हमें ईमान है, जज्बा, as if like the rest of the world doesn't have any jazba and any iman. Passion is what they're saying, that they're very passionate people. Yes, we don't have money, but we have a lot of passion. We're, of course, very honest and all that. And to each their own. I don't, if that's what floats your boat, so be it. But uh, we are, we could have done a far better job in terms of letting our passion be channelized in the right way. Look, India is home, like 60% of the country is below the age of 30. So it's very crucial and critical that we channelize this workforce correctly. Like in the academics, we have done, checked all the boxes, right? Whether it is engineering or technology or medical sciences, we have checked the boxes, we are at the right places. But the large audience, which is in India, which is the youth or the young audience, they're still not coached, guided, matured enough to present themselves as global voices, if you will. Not their fault because they don't have that exposure. Nobody's guiding them, nobody's coaching them. But in times like this, that gets exposed, right? That gets exploited even. Uh, Shouting and screaming and making a big noise about it is not going to cut the ice. Making sharp, incisive comments is going to land far deeper in the wider consciousness, if you will. And so we missed a trick on those lines as well, in terms of what we missed, and Pakistan picked up on that narrative. Last but not the least, on various forums, even after the ceasefire, the pause, I should call it, one should have immediately had counter statement released from United States that um, while this is what President Trump said, there is more to the story. That never came out. That never emerged in any conversation, and that's where the the Pakistani media uh, took the upper hand and ran with it. Right, that this is the first time nobody has poo-pooed us. Nobody has made asked us to shut up and sit down, which basically means then we have won the war. That means United States is backing us and stuff like that. Which leads me to believe. So this was about all the optics, which leads me to believe something has dramatically changed in the last 3 months, which we as ordinary citizens we don't know. And like I said, the whole disclaimer to all this is we don't know what we don't know. Right? There could be a deeper story which will unfold further down the line, very high likely. As of now, what it seems to me is that 25 years of diplomacy and um, camaraderie and shaking hands and walking on in Madison Square, packed Madison Square Garden, NRI saying Trump is good for business. That's why we voted for him, and all those things went down the drain when President Trump sided or re-hyphenated Pakistan with India. That didn't go down well with India. They probably knew that, but that was again must have been by design. Question is why so? In January, Dr. Jaishankar was at the inauguration speech, probably the first or second row from President Trump. From metaphorically speaking, from being at the front row and Pakistan not being in that room, we are pretty much at the third, fourth row, and Pakistan suddenly sitting in the front row. How is that, and why is that? There is something has changed in the last 2 3 months. How, what, why, where? I don't know. If you guys know, do let me know in the comments below. But if something has changed, it will also change back. Is my assessment, reading sense, if you will. It cannot be that 25 years of work is just evaporated. It's an interim measure, somewhat mimicking 1999. So when 9/11, not 1999, sorry, 2001, when 9/11 happened, uh, Pakistan was drawn into the conversation, brought back onto the table, and then those bases were used to retaliate and tackle um, the Taliban forces and everything. And so, right now, again, we are in that situation where um, probably it's almost like a containment strategy that if the Iran and Israel conflict happens, then Pakistan should not get sucked in or make a bold statement and do something silly and stupid. And they would have known before Operation Sindoor. So while we are getting to know about the conflict now, like I said at the top of the conversation, none of this, whatever that you see, all the disturbances geopolitically, globally, none of it is at the heat of the moment or the spur of the moment. There is planning, thought process, action taken back, which which is being enacted now and it is surfacing to public consciousness now. So could be we know that the Iran Israel conflict was happening, was about would happen, and that was a pre-planned thing to get Pakistan back from the cold storage into hot microwaved fresh serving at the table. Uh, could have been by design. And as is the case, once this its utility is over, we go back to the old commercial friend, i.e., India, and then again sideline them. And again, manufacturing that story won't be very difficult. It could be the government could implode, no confidence motion. I'm talking about Pakistan. That has happened multiple times. There could be a military coup. There could be multiple reasons why the whole narrative could change again. So I wouldn't be surprised same time next year or maybe even earlier. It could go back to how it was pre Operation Sindoor or pre tariff conversations, if you will. I think that was one of the trigger points or starting points where this to and fro happened. or if you do this, I'll do that, tit for tat kind of thing. And so that's where. But if none of this is true, if it's all as you know, pay as you go, or build as it happens, then it is indeed very surprising, shocking even, that years and years of investment in diplomacy, in strategic partnerships, in Quad, and what have you, it's all just kind of reset itself back to not even zero, -1, I'd imagine. What it does, though, this kind of movements, like India will probably move on and figure something out. But the question that comes to my mind is, well, if this is by design to push India away or teach them a lesson or bring India to size, if you will, is it not? Is the United States not risking pushing India into the block on the other side, with Russia already being its close friend, and then probably mending ways with China, unless United States is very sure that this will never happen, that China and India will never get along. I don't know so much, because we still import almost $130 billion from China. So the trade is still on, and if border disputes are taken away, is there much to fight with China, right? And so there could it's a risk, right? So is this a calculated risk taken by the United States? I don't know. Um, it is also very important to realize that if that block doesn't happen, and India is kind of isolated with it asks India the question that how else do you how else do you sustain this neutral, I'll be friends with everybody, not be anybody's side, I'll be on my own side kind of story. It sounds cute, but at some point you will have to coalesce with one block somewhere. I think that's what seems likely. Can't be the fence sitter no more, unless we do something magical with the economy. We're probably at number 5, number 4, inching to number 4. If we leapfrog to say number 3 realistically and solidly, then the story will be very different. And if we are close to number 4, which will take some time, number 2, as into China's economy, then that could be it could be a very, very different dynamic. But is it easy to do it in a democracy, dysfunctional, less efficient democracy? Democracy, nevertheless, but difficult to do. It's not like a veto thing. Build a flyover between point A and point B, no questions asked. That never happened in India. It'll probably take 5 years, 7 years to build one. That's why the rate of development and growth is slow, because we have to take permissions, we have to take clearances, and all those things, right, which take time, and everybody's agreement, opinion, legalities, what have you. Unlike, say, China, where it is authoritarian, where it is, if I need to build a road, I need to build a road in a story. So, very interesting times we have in the neighborhood, and somewhere India probably will have to take a stance, a mature identity stance, that here is who we are, here is who we want to be, and then identify all those people who are going to be with you in that journey. If they are not, then probably you have to rethink your strategy. So that's the long and short of the entire aftermath. The After the fog of the instant conflict is lifted, and that's what we know as on date. I'm sure as we go forward, we'll know much more. We'll figure out newer facets, newer angles, new information. For now, it seems that the Russia-Ukraine war has gone into the back burner, whereas the Israel-Iran conflict is borderlining on becoming a full-scale war, probably know in a day or two's time. It's unfortunate. Innocent people will die on either side. It's very unfortunate that people die anywhere. But if that is the case, then the whole picture starts to come in, that why this was done, what the regime change will impact the regional geopolitics, Where does the India-Pakistan equations stay in this newer emerging world order is something which I'm very, very curious to understand and know. So is there more to the story there? Then there is the Taiwan situation, then there is the North Korea situation, which could erupt anytime, any day. So is this mimicking a World War III like situation? I don't know. At what point multiple conflicts and one of these conflicts suddenly escalates into a full scale war and then we all get sucked into it? That seems to be the fear uh, on one side. On the other side, the optimistic in me is like commerce unites the world. All said and done, there will be, like I said, in the middle of optics and posturing lies the actual reality. So beyond everything, it's like it's a controlled and measured aggression, if you will. And so things will come back to normal. Things will settle down. Economies will go back to saying, okay, now we need to make money. Let's get on with life. We have spent so much money, and so on and so forth. So I think the Russia and Ukraine conflict, war, will have some kind of understanding, as will India and Pakistan, as will Iran and Israel. I don't foresee, at least with my limited understanding, admitted, make no pretense of, like I said, we don't know what we don't know. But it seems to me that we'll go till the edge and come back. And I'll be proven right or wrong in 2 days' time or 3 days' time. Like they said, even in case of Operation Sindoor, it is at a pause. It is not something that has been switched off or ceasefire. So, although it remains to be seen, do let me know your thoughts. Uh, do you read the situation any differently? And what happens? On that note, I hope you enjoyed listening to this simple, slow burn, non rhetorical talk on geopolitics. And like I said, all I can share is what I know. What I don't know, I don't know, and happy to be corrected. But if you like, then please do share, subscribe with a set of people who care for similar content. It's not even a regular podcast. It's like when these kind of things bubble up, I try and put together an episode every now and then. But I'd still request, if you would want, if you can subscribe, consider subscribing. I would appreciate that. That's all the time I had for this episode of Ionisms. I hope you stay well, stay safe, stay calm. I think all beyond all the noise, if you have a job, if you have a business, please, please, please continue doing what you do best and don't give in to too much of noise, all social media and television and all those things. If you think the world is ending tomorrow, if you keep seeing them too much, almost like the world is ending tomorrow, and then turns out it will not, and life continues. And that's why I want to end on a positive note, that there will be a Monday, there will be work. So keep focusing on that stuff, keep staying uh, happy and positive under the constraints, under the difficult situation. Till we meet the next time, my name is Ayan and you are listening to Ayanisms. Peace.